Well, tonight, Chairman of the Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee, Kennedy Osei-Nyako, says if Ghanaians are complaining about economic hardship, then government should suspend the free SHS school feeding, planting for food and jobs, and other flagship policies and resources redirected to other productive sectors of the economy. Ghana's economy is currently in dire straits, with the president chairing a summit of his government to decide on the best course of action to fix the economy. He argues that by suspending these programs, government can save between 5 and 6 billion cedis.
It's a suggestion that I say, if I have the power to advise government, I will tell government that why don't you suspend this 5 let's say social intervention program.
What are these 5 specific?
Well, you say you've read. They've read. I mean, I was saying that why? Well, those people who are benefiting the school free SHS, those benefiting the NAPCO, those benefiting the teacher training allowance, those benefiting planting for food and job, if they are not showing some kind of appreciation, they don't see that what government is doing is a form of sacrifices, and they are still calling on government that things are very tough. Government should take a decision that let me suspend and move that fund, save that money, and move it to areas that they think that these people will have that kind of will improve their economic condition, will improve, and that is what
was a major campaign policy.
So if the people
want government to
and if the people that the government is spending, do you know how much government spends each and every year on free SHS? This year is more than 2-point-something billion. And still yet, if Ghanaians are not appreciating what the government is doing, you still want government to invest, put that money there. And they are complaining. So that is why. So that is why I want to save that money. Where do you want government to get additional money to go and do those things? So we'll save this money and move to areas that will be able to bring that kind of relief to the people. The people say food prices are going up. The people say fuel prices are going up. So if government is able to suspend this and save almost about 5 to 6 billion and put it in those areas, that will bring relief. Maybe in the future when things have settled, we have recovered fully from the COVID and things economically, globally has come down and things have picked up, maybe government can go back.
This is a position former chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Professor Stephen Adey, endorses, speaking on Upfront on the Joy News channel Wednesday. The economist said too much resources is being expended on the program. He wants a review so that some schools will be allowed to charge fees.
The Ministry of Education alone and the Ministry of Health for the teachers and nurses take so much from the government budget. If you add debt, we have practically nothing. If you are making a road, you have to go and beg for money. And of course, nobody is happy. Everybody wants higher salary. They want, and there's almost an automatic increase. Everybody who comes from School of Education, College of Education has to be employed. So that structural rigidities in our system makes it such that there's very little room to move. And despite all the advantages of free SHS, it has even worsened it. Because now about 7.5 or 6 billion immediately goes into it. I think that free SHS is wonderful, because if it was there, I would have gone to secondary school, not teachers' college. So, but we have to look at it again. I think that there are certain schools which we should make them autonomous and fee paying, and people will go there, but then make sure that there are good community schools for everybody else. So that Chimotes and the Wegehe, which people want, they are only exclusive for them. Because by accident, they went there, their children must go there, let them pay. So they may be...
But these are the best schools we have.
Yes, so keep it best, let them pay. But use the money you are using there to make the other schools also best.
Basically, you are pricing out the poor.
No, you are doing the opposite, because only a small proportion of the poor come to Achimota.
Yeah.
Let the rich go there and pay.
We will shortly speak to Imani Africa, but this is not the first time a conversation about reviewing free SHS in particular has come up. When the policy was introduced, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta admitted those who can pay should be made to pay, but said the difficulty in making these identification forced government to make it free for all.
And I think, you know, President Akufo-Addo has essentially achieved that. But even during that period, he was also very clear of what he calls the preferential option for the poor, which is the issue of inclusiveness. You know, so that the massive elimination of various vexing taxes and the interjection of free senior high school, what we are doing with planting for food and jobs. Now, this is not a government that is therefore not aware of what the needs of the people are. And to be able to secure the future for transformation, I mean, human capital is so important. And that's what the intervention is. Okay. But beyond that is creating a society where there's social inclusiveness, which means that you must get educated. And also there's a sense of social mobility. You know, so when I sit there looking at choices that one has to make, when somebody say, well, you don't have the money to do free senior high, I say, I don't have a choice. The president wants that, and every Ghanaian citizen deserves to be able to be given a platform from which he or she can.
I'm still waiting to hear the assurance that we will not overspend in the election year.
Well, the assurance that you have, the beauty,
throw everything away.
Great. Yeah. I'm glad you are saying throw everything away, because there is an acknowledgement that we've got a lot. Yes. And we don't want to throw it away, which is very good. But you know, we have an amazing team. You know, I mean, for me, being under the mentorship of the vice president, the senior minister, you know, and the presidency, it gives a whole sense of urgency as to what we have to do. And that is where, unfortunately, the senior minister was the one who was able to ensure that we did not get into this election year, and he's there to guide us. We also, as you know, voluntarily did the FRA. Right. So the 5%, I have to keep at it, or else I lose my job. I'm sanctioned. Okay. And that's motivation enough. So really for us, and if you look at what we have done these 3 years, we have kept faith with that. All right.
How much exactly has been spent on the program since its inception? My colleague Kweku Asante joins us via Zoom with the figures. Is a cancellation, suspension, or review of the free SHS program currently on the table? That's the question we're finding out. Kweku, what more can you tell us?
All right. So currently, according to government, they've spent 7.7 billion Ghana cedis, 7.7 billion cedis since the policy took off in 2017. That is much more than government has spent in a lot of social interventions. But the breakdown is that in 2019, government spent 1.68 billion cedis. In 2020, it spent 2.34 billion cedis. In 2021, it came down a bit, spent 1.97 billion cedis. And the current year, it is spending 2.3 billion Ghana cedis. And so government has spent quite a fortune on free senior high school since it started. And we've been speaking to the Ghana Education Service, the Ministry of Education, who have been implementing the program. According to the spokesperson, Kwesi Kwarteng, irrespective of, despite the complaints that people have made about the amount of money that they spent, cancelling, reviewing, or suspending the free senior high school is not on the table at all. So we can listen to Kwesi Kwarteng, he speaks for the Ministry of Education.
The free SHS policy is not the only government initiative that involves financial implications. And I mean, for the extension of that logic, are we also saying that any other thing that is government expenditure should be held just on the basis that, I mean, generally, we admit that we have some level of, how do you call it, economic challenge or difficulty? Is that the suggestion that because some way, somehow, wood construction or the construction of woods also involves the government expenditure, and then we should halt on all wood construction because people feel that the economy is challenged. I'm not sure that is the logic that anybody wants to push, but on the economic of it, we've not had any conversations to that effect about counseling or I mean, removing that bit of financial assistance that the government has been giving to the people of Ghana.
Van Zoom is Director of Strategy, Imani Africa, Ceylon branch here. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So what's the best policy approach now? Should we be considering counseling or reviewing the free SHS policy? Salam, if you can hear me, I'm asking what the best approach will be now. Should we be considering a review or a total cancellation of the policy?
Mic was on mute, unfortunately. Yeah, so I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, loud and clear.
Good. So I believe that there should be a review of the policy. Truncating it right now would also bring a huge inconvenience on quite a lot of parents who possibly do not have the means at this moment or would not have budgeted it into their stream of activities, catering for some of their wards, especially if you look at people who have maybe more than 1 or 2 wards in secondary school now, who are earning anything between 1,000 to 2,000 CD income brackets. It would have very devastating consequences on their ability to go to school or fulfill requirements for the term. So I believe that what could happen is a review of this policy along some kind of means testing, but this would have also required some kind of deliberation and some kind of initial background work, which at this moment or at this point in time is not it's not something that can be done immediately. The nuclear option will be obviously to pull the plug and possibly take time over the course of the year to build up some kind of framework to ensure that the children can still attend school whilst other solutions are looked at. Because the truth of the matter is that over the past 4 or 5 years since this policy was established in full swing, we are spending upwards of between $400 and $600 million annually, which is money we really cannot afford at the moment. And these are some of the warnings that Imani Africa indicated 10 years ago when this policy was mooted as one of the flagship policies of the NPP government or an incoming NPP government. We indicated right from the get-go that this was going to be something that was going to cause a huge burden on the economy, a huge burden on the activity of education delivery in itself, because currently the Ministry of Education is, or the education ecosystem is spending more on just running the free SHS than on delivering quality education to the same pupils. And it is reflecting in the kinds of results that they are posting year in, year out. And you have to also know that every year, with every passing year, there are more of these children entering into the secondary cycle stream of education, which means that that burden is even going to increase as we go on, because we have a youthful population and a population that is increasing annually at a higher rate than before. So it means that the burden is not going to go down anytime soon, and very pragmatic measures, which if they had been taken into consideration from day one, would have been the much more prudent solution. Like Professor Day indicated earlier, we should not begin to try and make this a matter of classism, but we should be very pragmatic. Our systems and our infrastructure is such that the second cycle institutions in Ghana are mostly made up of boarding schools, and the funding boarding school education is way more expensive than funding day school education. And these are some of the things or the nuances that make our situation very unique and different from other countries that were implementing free education at the secondary level.
Right. I was just about coming to what Professor Adai indicated about parents who can afford. In that regard, what would you suggest?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my colleague Kofi Bento has spoken quite extensively over the years on the fact that there must be some way or modulations around means testing where parents who can afford can pay. And he also talked about one thing, which if you look at parallels in other countries, it exists. In countries where they have free second cycle education, there are certain schools that are kind of like what you would call the Ivy League of schools, where you would have the rich people who can create endowments for these institutions where they send their kids to, can create those endowments, and which can also have a quota of privileged children paying the full complement of fees, whilst a certain quota is also there for needy but brilliant children to enter and take advantage of the facilities in those institutions. And these institutions are high-performing institutions, which are normal in any country in the world. However, so a lot of these things were met with harsh criticisms because a lot of people did not take time to understand the nuances of the situation, where even though we want equitable education across board, there needs to be the chance to have certain institutions that become centers of excellence, which have what we call endowments. It's the same way that you have universities like MIT and the rest that have big endowments because of the fact that they channel a lot of resources from beneficiaries of these institutions into research, into groundbreaking areas and things like that. And the truth is, we need to begin to have that culture towards our education here and not see education as some kind of conveyor belt which just mass produces children, but looking at both quality and what we intend to produce as an end result of that second cycle education, which is the first 17 or 18 years of an average Ghanaian's life.
Salome Brantier, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us tonight on Joy News Prime.